45 former and retired U.S. military members penned a joint letter asking that current operators of military drones walk away from their missions. So it's a new movement. Some people are calling it the Refuse to Fly campaign. Newsweek says the following about this, quote, "At least 6,000 lives have been unjustly taken by U.S. drone attacks in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, Iraq, the Philippines, Libya, and Syria. The Bureau of Investigative Journalism, a nonprofit based in London, found that in many ways the U.S. stepped up its drone campaign in 2014. The appeal from former military members follows reports that the U.S. Air Force is reducing to 60 from 65 its number of daily drone flights, mainly because the stress of the job is causing drone operators to leave in droves." So in all seriousness, I didn't know that the way we did drones, it's like a day job for a bunch of people. I didn't know that. I naively thought, like in some secret CIA headquarters, once every month when they find high-level targets, then they take out the drones and they try to do it. And I thought, obviously, oftentimes they fuck up and kill civilians. No, but I didn't know that it's like they have a set number of people, that it's like a day job. They show up, they eat their peanut butter and jelly sandwich, they go on coffee breaks, and a lot of the time they sit there with what looks like a computer controller, and they have a grainy screen in front of them, and they blow shit up. And they just hear people talking in their ear. Okay, get that guy. So you've made a system out of this? But wait, if you've made a system out of it, then it's almost like you need to find people to kill to fill the time. You're not doing it out of necessity. You're not doing it as like a thing of last resort. You're saying, okay, you come to work from this time to that time, and we're going to tell you what to do in the time. And so what happens if there's nobody to kill that day? What do you do? No, this is a much more perverse system than I thought. I didn't like it to begin with, but this is like over the top. And also, let me say, I follow the news as closely as anybody. I have to do it for a living. And I had no idea that we were also doing drone strikes in the Philippines and Libya. I missed that one, and I read a tremendous amount of articles every day. So again, you learn something new every day, and unfortunately, it's something negative about U.S. foreign policy, of course. And a lot of pilots have come out now and said, I actually, I have PTSD because of what I had to do. And they also indicate that this is not nearly as surgical as you'd expect. Like, you hear about it and you think, like, it really is some high-level shit where there's fucking laser beams and there's things that you can spy on somebody from miles away and you can zoom in to see the fucking hairs on their face and no. The guys are like, yeah, it really wasn't that surgical. One person in the article tells a story where they're like, my first day on the job, there's people walking on the side of a road in like Pakistan, and there's two people up front carrying rifles, one person in the back. It looks like the people up front are arguing with each other. The guy says in his ear to the drone operator, he's like, go for the two guys. And he's like, two's better than one. And the drone operator's like, he didn't say anything, but of course he's thinking, what? Like, what do you say? I thought we're going after, like, people who we know for sure, or top al-qaeda people, top jihadists. And the guy's like, no, just go for the more people. Just kill the more people. And this guy, the operator's like, do you know their names? Do you know who they are? Or we're just killing people because they're carrying a rifle? How do you know that they're not fighting the Taliban or al-qaeda or somebody? So he kills the two people. He said the guy in the back, he blew his leg off by accident, and he sat there and bled out. Oh. He said, I couldn't, I had to leave. I didn't, I think it's crazy what we're doing. So now, believe it or not, even with me telling you all this information here and stuff, believe it or not, I'm actually kind of split on the overall movement, and I'll explain why. Because it's not like there's never been any good drone campaign. It's not like there's never been a campaign where we actually got the top al-Qaeda guys or the top ISIS guys, and it was just a successful mission. That exists. And from time to time, that's useful. If we know exactly where al-Baghdadi is and we know that we're not going to kill any civilians in the process, to say no to that is like, okay, that's weird because it makes sense to go after in that case. So I'm not, like, in principle against drones. I'm against using them and fucking up as much as we do where we kill all these civilians, but I'm not against them in principle. So as I was trying to come up with a solution, like a middle ground as I'm reading this article in order to, get to a place that makes sense. And I decided that while I'm not on board with this movement where they say just every drone operator just leave and refuse to do it, what I do think makes sense is a strike. So all the drone operators should say, none of us are going to work anymore. None of us will. But we will go back to work if/when we follow the Constitution, we follow domestic law, and we follow international law in how we use these drones. So in other words, you make it so that you have to declare war before we attack in Pakistan or Somalia or Yemen or Libya. We're not at war with those places. So you can't just go in there, violate their airspace, which is sovereign, and then start killing people. That's against the Constitution. You can't do that. So they should say, look, we're just not going to go in there until you get approval through Congress and until you define the mission. We're not going to go in there unless and until we know that we're following international law. So if you have to get approval through the UN and NATO, by all means, go ahead and do that. And, we're not going to do it unless there's a better process in place where there's oversight, where, it's not like a FISA court rubber stamp where, okay, just kill whoever you want, where there's an actual oversight process where you're getting the right people. And unfortunately, the way it works right now, people think it's surgical. It's nowhere near surgical, and people think there's a good process. There's not a good process. Obama has fucking kill lists. He's the president. He goes, I want to kill these people. Some of them even American citizens, like Anwar al-Awlaki. And people are like, okay, I guess that's just what you do. But you can't do that! The whole purpose of America is that we don't have a unitary executive. We don't have a fascist leader. We have a system in place. We have a democracy. We have oversight. We have checks and balances. So, again, I'm actually not on page with this movement where you say, I'm against drones in all cases, no matter whatever. Well, no, they're fine as a tool if you go about using them the right way and you stay within the guidelines of the Constitution, domestic law, and international law, and you have the right people checking to make sure you're just getting the people we need to get with it. As of right now, that is not the case, and we're abusing it, and we're using it in the most brazenly illegal and unconstitutional way. So we certainly have to stop doing it the way we're doing it right now, but I wouldn't go to the other extreme where I say, under no circumstances ever can you use drones.